Hello and welcome to the CCP channel. Today's episode is called Beep Boop, where I review and play video games with my video game playing super robot, Beep Boop. Isn't that right, Beep Boop?
I am programmed to make video game videos better than anyone else. Beep Boop is not just an excellent robot, he's humble too. There might be something wrong with his brain though.
It's raining tacos,
I probably need to get that checked out.
Today we're playing Aggelos for the Nintendo Switch, an enjoyable and beautifully made side-scrolling adventure game by an indie developer who goes by the pseudonym Wonderboy Bobi. Before we play, let's talk about this game a little bit. I discovered Wonderboy Bobi one day when browsing the Nintendo eShop. I found the game Tanuki Justice, and I loved the sprite work in that game so much that I bought it, and found it to be a lot of fun. Naturally, I wanted to know who was responsible for such an interesting and challenging side-scrolling platformer, and it was Wonderboy Bobi. But who is Wonderboy Bobi? I really don't know. In fact, I'm not even 100% sure that Wonderboy Bobi is actually just one person. Nor am I 100% sure that Wonderboy Bobi isn't actually a lady. In fact, it could turn out that Wonderboy Bobi is actually a team of cheerleaders. Wouldn't that be cool? Beep-a-doop-boopity-boopity-boop-boop. What I do know is that Bobi has an account on Twitter and interacts with it as if they were a single individual and not a team of cheerleaders. Recently, Bobi published a new website meant to showcase all of their work, wonderboybobi.com. There you can find screenshots and details about all of the different games they've published since becoming an indie game developer in 2013. The only thing I know for sure about Bobi is that they're European, because their primary language is French. And as you can see from the aesthetics of their website here, they're inclined toward the Sega Master System, a console that is heavily favored by Europeans over a certain age. Given the kinds of games Bobi makes, and their interest in the Master System, I think it's safe to infer that they're probably between the ages of 35 and 45 years old. And let's be real here, look at these games. Would a team of 40-year-old cheerleaders make games like this? Dude alert, dude alert, dude alert, dude alert. I think you're right, Beep Boop. Wonderboy Bobi isn't a team of attractive 40-year-old women. Wonderboy Bobi is a man. Beep 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 beep. Bobi's first public game was a sequel to Govelius from 1987, which he released for free since he's not the owner of the Govelius IP. According to my data, Govelius is currently owned by Sega. Owned by Sega? Great! Then maybe Bobi will eventually be able to release it. Sega doesn't always make the best decisions. But one thing they've done that's just awesome is letting indie developers make sequels to their franchises, typically with resounding success. Streets of Rage 4 was developed in France by .emu, and Sonic Mania was developed by Australians. G'day, mate. You hear that, Bobi? You need to call up Sega and get your sequel to Govelius an official commercial release. Lord knows Sega could use the money. Bobi's version of the game plays a lot more like the original Legend of Zelda, and not so much like Govelius. And honestly, his game appears to be much better than the original in every conceivable way. His beautiful pixel art is Wonderboy Bobi's most obvious strength, as it manages to perfectly encapsulate the retro look of Japanese video games from the 1980s, while also making many subtle aesthetic improvements that would only be possible on modern hardware. This is a trait that can be found throughout Aggelos. While it's made in the 16-bit style of old Sega games like Wonderboy and Monster World, there are far more colors, animation, special effects, and simultaneous sprites than would have ever been possible in the 80s and 90s. For those of us who appreciate classic pixel art as an art form in and of itself, Aggelos is nothing short of a marvel. There are many different enemy sprites in the game, ranging from the cute and cuddly to completely badass. Like Akira Toriyama before him, Wonderboy Bobi has a knack for endowing everything with its own personal charm. Even his NPCs are full of life and personality. Each and every one of them is a unique creation with unique attributes and style. Talking to them all actually matters in this sense. You find your favorites, you remember them, they stick to you more, and therefore the game becomes that much more immersive and rich. Old school adventure games and RPGs couldn't achieve this level of detail because the cartridge memories were very limited. That's right, Beep Boop. Developers therefore couldn't create unique character sprites for each and every individual person inhabiting their game world. Take Phantasy Star from 1987 for example. Everyone in a given town pretty much looks just like everyone else. It's just like all the people on Instagram. Today, 2D indie games like this have no such limitation, and Bobi is one of those creators who takes full advantage of that fact. The creature and monster compendium for this game would be encyclopedic. Aggelos is a 2D side-scrolling adventure game, or as some people like to call it, a Metroidvania. Therefore, there are no discrete levels in the game, but rather everything takes place on a single massive, continuous side-scrolling domain of action and adventure. Of course, in the beginning you start out with no abilities, other than a sword swing and a short jump, so the vast majority of this larger world is off limits until you start to collect all of the requisite powers and moves that allow you to jump higher, dash across the sky, teleport, turn enemies into platforms, float in a bubble, shoot projectiles, and more. Indeed, Aggelos eventually transforms your main character sprite into a complete badass, and all of these special moves can be easily accessed by the tap of a responsive and well-mapped button. Controlling the game was never a problem, and that's really important, because while Aggelos starts off mild and gentle, by the end the skills required to make progress become daunting. That means you'll have to exercise expertly timed platforming, making use of special techniques such as this downward thrust, followed up with other magical abilities. These moments are fun for people who want a challenge, but some of the later areas of the game will absolutely crush the patience of most modern gamers looking for a complete run of the game. Beep boop, this game is hard. I do not want to play anymore. Beep boop. I love the powers you get in this game, and it's plain that Wonderboy Bobi thought long and hard about all of the clever design choices he'd make to ensure the players make use of every single one of them. Sometimes games like this tend to dump a few skills on you that seem to serve no purpose at all. But this is a lot more polished than that. It's like a Zelda game wherein everything you get matters and pushes the gameplay forward. That being said, the magic system isn't quite perfect. You have magic points that have to be restored by striking enemies or hit detectable objects, such as switches. In the beginning this is really limited, and it can be very frustrating when you get a new ability and you just want to unleash the full breadth of your new power. After all, there's no limit to the number of times you can just jump or swing your sword, so why then can't you just temporarily freeze everything on screen? That would be so much fun. Beep boop, but that would make the game too easy. Like I said, being able to use magic infinitely would make this game more fun. The boss fights in this game are incredible. Bobi's artwork is in a masterclass with the very best pixel artists of all time. Artists such as Leonardo da Vinci, Van Gogh, Botticelli, Renoir, my cell phone camera from 2003. Bobi's encounters fill the screen, they intimidate while somehow managing to remain beautiful and full of personality and charm. They're also well animated. Essentially, they're just like Chris Farley in his prime. Big is beautiful. Now these fights aren't exactly subtle. With a couple of exceptions, I found that my approach to winning is simply to go in ass wild, swing my sword 1,000 times and unleash whatever magical ability might be required to stay alive. But of course, wouldn't you know it that while I'm trying to do this, my magic meter keeps running out. That means in the middle of an awesome boss fight, rather than just having to manage my life and what skills I'm going to unleash, I also have to be mindful of constantly replenishing my magic points. Which is why every boss fight unleashes a barrage of one-hit kill enemies that chase you around the screen at various intervals. But this is so annoying. I just want to commit digital murder on a giant squid, dog. I already killed all that other stuff to get here, man. It's just work to do, a chore. And if I was interested in that, I wouldn't be here right now, doing this. I'd be helping my wife. doing the dishes, taking out the trash, feeding the robot, walking the kids, you know, doing whatever it takes to make life better for our family. But no, dog, I'm here with you, doing this. Speaking of chores, you're probably aware that the most common complaint with all side-scrolling adventure games, like Aggelos here, is that they too often rely on fetch quests and backtracking in order to pad out their length. And that's definitely an issue here too. Many of the game's mini-quests can be summarized as follows. An NPC has an item that you need to access a new area of the game, but the NPC wants or needs a different item. So eventually you run into an NPC who has the item, but you can't get that item because they also want an item. And having found that item, you can finally start a chain of exchanges that leads all the way back up to the thing that you actually needed in the first place. Ay. It appears as though capitalism has failed us all. It sure seems that way, Beep Boop, because work sucks. And getting all of this work done means you'll have to walk back and forth through the same areas many times, killing the same weak enemies over and over and over again. Now, Aggelos has many interesting and well-designed environments to explore, especially the clever, well-crafted dungeons. But it just so happens that the very least interesting areas of the game, with the least interesting enemy encounters, will be the ones that you're stuck traversing, collecting the tiny bits of gold from enemies that are so small that they aren't even worth taking the time to stop and gather. Now, to be fair, this problem is drastically alleviated later in the game if you manage to find a secret item that allows you to teleport to any of the numerous save points scattered throughout the world. The only problem is that getting this item is fairly cryptic and difficult, and by the time you've gotten it, you would have already done a huge amount of backtracking through all of the environments anyway.
That sucks too.
And let me tell you, I got lost a few too many times trying to get to where I wanted to go. Listen, people, we live in Future World 2021, and like millions of other Americans, I can't even find the grocery store without first doing a search on Google Maps. I've become dependent on maps, especially ones with flashy, glowy icons that tell me exactly where I am, like a Metroid game. But Aggelos doesn't have a map to tell you where to go or where you've been. Well, that's not quite true. It has this beautiful picture of the Overworld that shows you where you are in the pretend fantasy world the game takes place in. But it doesn't tell you how you got there, or how to get to any of the other places, because the map is drawn in a traditional overhead perspective, while the game is essentially one giant level in a side-scrolling platformer. You can't just head north to the tower that goes into the clouds. But you gotta go left and then find the right doors, or go up or left and then maybe right again before you can actually find it. It's not that simple. This is the reason Zelda 2 had overworld sections between all of its side-scrolling dungeon levels. And you know what? That was a really good idea. If Aggelos had a functional map and overhead gameplay connecting its side-scrolling environments, then it would have been pretty much a perfect game. Because you know what, guys? This is a really great game that took a very talented person a lot of time and hard work to make. I think this guy even wrote the music, and you know what? For what it is, I mean for being a tribute to the kind of 8-bit chiptunes that appeared on the Sega Master System, this soundtrack is really great. If you want a point of comparison, then once again check out Golvelius on the Master System, because that's the sort of music we get here. Hey Beep Boop, play the Overworld music from Golvelius. Beep Boop, Roger Dodger.
Beep boop 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 beep beep boop boop.
Thanks, Beep Boop. Now play the excellent Overworld music from Aggelos.
Beep boop 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 beep beep boop boop.
If you don't like chiptunes, then you probably won't like this, but I personally love chiptunes so much that whenever I'm sleep deprived or pushed into extraordinarily stressful situations, I begin to hallucinate, and I start hearing chiptune music from retro video games. Not particular chiptunes, but all new compositions of my fried brain's own making. I'm not making this up. This is not a joke. So yes, I love chiptunes so much that sometimes, under just the right conditions, I will hallucinate. So you know, I love this soundtrack. Thumbs up. Okay, that's enough. Get out of my head.
It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor at all.
Aggelos is a great game, especially for crusty old gamers such as myself who miss games like Wonderboy and the old school Zelda. We highly recommend it, especially if you're old, like me. Beep boop. Yes, you are old. You will probably be dead soon. Yes, soon I'll be dead, and I won't have to play video games anymore. So that was Aggelos by Wonderboy Bobi. Thank you for watching this very first episode of Beep Boop, where we review games with my video game playing robot. We hope that all of your wildest dreams come true. Beautiful sentiment, Beep Boop. It's a beautiful world after all, and even though I'm old and will die someday soon, I continue to strive to do my best. For you, and for everyone that counts on me. I love you, Beep Boop. Beep Boop. So, have you all ever played Aggelos? Do you know anything about Wonderboy Bobi? Let us know in the comments, and thank you very much for watching, because if it wasn't for you all, I would have never built this video game playing robot. Bye-bye now. Oh God, I had that dream again. I'm going crazy. Oh Lord, I'm going insane.
It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yum.